Welcome to the Core Women Podcast, the place for women entrepreneurs, authors, and self-starters looking to build community and gain valuable insights through expert interviews with women at the top of their game. Join your host, podcaster, producer, expert coach, entrepreneur, and author, Dr. Summer Watson, as she aims to inspire and empower you through these candid conversations. Lean in and embrace the journey. It's time to start the show. Here's your host, Dr. Summer Watson.
Welcome back to the Core Women Podcast. Today, I'm excited to welcome Lynnaire Johnston, who is a global LinkedIn authority and visibility expert who helps professionals stand out in a crowded digital world. With decades of writing experience, a deep understanding of AI, and a passion for helping people build meaningful, career-changing networks, Lynnaire's work bridges personal storytelling and strategic visibility. She's the author of Linkability and co-author of the best-selling business Gold. And through her membership community, she helps professionals grow their presence with authenticity, purpose, and impact. If you've ever wondered how to truly show up online and get noticed for all the right reasons, this conversation is for you. Welcome, Lynnaire.
Kia ora from New Zealand, Summer. Thank you so much for having me.
Woohoo, New Zealand! I'm so excited to be here with you. So before we dive into your professional journey, if you could describe your life to this point in one word, what would that word be and why?
Words. Very simple word, but words would be my answer, because words have been important to me from the time I could first learn to read, and they have been part of my professional life all my life. Sometimes it's writing, sometimes it's, well, a lot it's talking, Summer, let's be fair, but also it's about hearing words, using words for building relationships, and the importance of words, I believe, cannot be underestimated.
I love that. That's the first time I actually got that word. So, well, thank you. So, Lynnaire, we have so much to talk about today. And one of those things is, how did you and your interest in social media and AI develop?
Well, I discovered about 10 years ago that LinkedIn had introduced a short form posting component to its platform. Before that, LinkedIn had been all about recruitment and all about long form content, and that was all that you could post. But then when I discovered you could write short posts and they could be sent out to everybody in your network and beyond, I just fell in love with the platform because it allowed me to meet people all over the world. And once I realized the opportunities, it was an aha moment for me, Summer, when I just recognized the fact that here I was a professional writer, and LinkedIn would allow me to get my words out to a wider audience really quickly and really easily. And from there, I started learning about LinkedIn, got to know it really well, decided that I better write a book because I think that all experts need to have a book. And then from there, of course, AI has developed in the last 2 or 3 years, although my interest in AI has really only burgeoned in this year, 2025. But I have to say, it's been remarkable. I'm amazed at what it can do.
Absolutely. We'll get there, but your writing career has spanned decades. But what drew you specifically to LinkedIn as your platform of impact? Was there a moment or shift that sparked this path?
I think that I realized LinkedIn was about professionalism. It was about business, and it was about being able to meet people all around the world in a business setting rather than a social one. And it was that internationalism of it that I really loved, because Summer, we live at the bottom of the world here in New Zealand, next stop Antarctica, right? And so being able to meet, discuss, talk with, get to know people everywhere in the world was such an eye-opener for me, because we're such a vast distance from anywhere. It takes a long time to get there and it's expensive. And so being able to do it from my home office was just amazing. And so when I realized that people would respond when I reached out to them, it just made me go, wow, this is amazing. I just love this. And I have built a network over this last 10, well, perhaps more years now, of people all over the world in different walks of life, but based on business, based on being a business professional. And that's what I like about LinkedIn compared with other social media platforms. It's about business. And others are more about recreation, showing off your new car, showing photos of your holiday, all of that kind of thing. On LinkedIn, we're here to learn, we're here to share information and to build those business relationships.
And I love that you use the word relationships because that is something that over many years I discovered about different platforms about building relationships. And LinkedIn is one of those platforms that I really appreciate because of the relationships that I have built there. They are so strong, they are so meaningful. Yes, it is a business platform, but the relationships that you can build there are incredible.
And I think underestimated. I think that that's one of those little known things about LinkedIn, that the relationships are where the opportunities come in. And it's about building relationships with people through other people. So you and I have met through a good friend of yours and mine, who I have never met in person, but I still consider him a great friend. And we've got to know each other on the basis of him suggesting to you that you should talk to me. Now, that happens all the time to me. And often it goes the other way. I'm able to say to people, you must talk to this person because, and we build synergies that way. And that's the way I think that relationships get built on LinkedIn. We do it with networking in person. And if we
Yeah.
go to networking groups, we meet people, we talk to them, get to know them. So I just see this as in-person networking on a bigger scale, Summer.
And we were kind of forced there during COVID as well, which, hey, that's fantastic because we learned that there was another way to communicate even when we were homebound. So, so many professionals feel invisible online. What are some of the most common visibility mistakes people make on LinkedIn, and how can they fix them?
I think the most common one is that people don't understand the value of a complete and compelling LinkedIn profile. They see it more as somewhere to put their resume online. In fact, it is somewhere where they can showcase their skills, abilities, experiences, milestones, and all of the things that, well, that they've experienced in their career that's brought them to this point. It's like their story, telling their business story on LinkedIn. And most people don't see it that way. They just see it as somewhere to throw the dates and be done with it. I see it as a living, breathing entity, which is a bit of an odd description for something that's on social media. But in fact, what I mean is that we need to be updating it, adding new things, new ideas, what we've done, all of those kind of things build up a picture in somebody's mind about who we are and what we can do. So when somebody visits our profile, they can either go, nah, yeah, so what? Or they can go, oh, wow, this person looks really interesting. I'm going to dive in and find out a little more. Now, if your profile does the latter, then you're winning. But if it does the former, then you're missing out because you don't get the visibility because people don't stop and have a look at your profile. They just scroll right on past. But part of that visibility is about building your network as well. So that means you need to be reaching out to people, getting to know people, building those relationships, because the more you do that, then the more visible you're going to be on LinkedIn. So I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding about the fact that profiles are really something that need to be looked after and expanded on a regular basis. But at the same time, that relationships need to be built. It's not just about putting a profile up, it's about building an ecosystem on LinkedIn that serves whatever your purpose, whatever your objective might happen to be on the platform or for being on LinkedIn, then what you're doing there, your presence needs to serve that.
There are so many takeaways from what you just said. If somebody listens to that, listens to this podcast episode, and listens to the one answer to that question, you can walk away feeling like, okay, I've got this. I've got something to start with. And that's what's so important about these episodes is that there are takeaways, and you just gave many. Now, you've worked with thousands of professionals worldwide. What are the key mindset shifts that help someone move from lurking to leading on LinkedIn?
Oh, that's a great question. LinkedIn is full of lurkers, and you just don't know they're there. They never comment, they never engage on your posts, they never show up to your events. You just don't know that they're really there and focusing on you at all. But all of a sudden, out of the blue, when they're ready to buy from you, there they'll be, and they'll say, "Oh, I've been following you for years." And you'll go, "Who are you again? I've never heard of you." And it's really, really interesting. So it's quite difficult, I think, to persuade those lurkers to come out of the shadows. But one of the things that I try to do whenever I have an opportunity like this is to explain the benefits, the opportunities, the doors that open when people do get to know you, when they do see your content, and when they are receiving direct messages from you. So it's again, it comes back to building those relationships. Now, you don't have to do that by being visible through content. You can do that just by showing up in the comments on somebody's posts, or you might just send them a direct message instead. But lurking is one of those things that I think is around fear. It's around fear of being seen. But if you're going to be a leader, you have to be visible. You have to stand out. You have to have the courage to be able to be seen for who you are and what you represent. So it is a difficult one, I agree, but baby steps, I think, are what's required, Summer. And that starts with your profile. Starts with your profile, which when you're happy with, leads you on to start building relationships with people and reaching out to people. You don't want to be inviting people to connect with you when your profile looks, when your profile looks great, then people will respond positively to your request to connect. And I think that in this day and age, with less authenticity, less trust, and a lot more fakery, shall we say, that reaching out to people personally is so important. So this probably falls into that category of mistakes people are making. They are not sending personalized messages when they reach out to connect. And that just makes it harder for people to say yes. Now, the difficulty with that is you may need a premium account on LinkedIn. And that's not cheap for some people, that's beyond their budgets. But being able to have the opportunity via that to reach more people personally, in my opinion, really pays off.
Absolutely. So many great takeaways there as well. And here's a tip as well. I don't think that you have to have the account that you need to pay for if you go into the comments and make a comment and talk. Start building a relationship on that post. Right there, you have an opportunity. Here's something else, and I want to take a step back real quick, Lynnaire. When I first started using LinkedIn years ago, I thought, oh, stuffy, it's rigid, it's all business. And it was also my perception of it because that's how it was kind of presented early on years ago. But as it has evolved, people came to the understanding that we need to build relationships. It's not your basic networking where you're like, okay, I just need to connect with this person, let them know my name, pass on a business card, da 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 da, whatever it is. No, it's about meaningful, authentic relationships. I may not have a million followers or connections, but the connections and followers that I do have, I'm well connected. We have built relationships. Just as you had mentioned earlier, shout out to Scott Mason. He
Oh,
has
yeah.
connected us, right? And it's like we just hit it off and it was great. And from there, we were able to talk and exchange ideas. And here we are today, right? On this podcast.
Yes,
So it's
yes.
about building slowly, whether that is an introduction or starting out with a comment on somebody's post.
Exactly. And as I've said, it comes back to building those relationships again. But there are a lot of people, Summer, who don't see the value in that. But
Yes.
I believe that it opens doors, it leads to opportunities like me being on your podcast. Thank you again. But it's come about because we both know one person in common who has introduced us, and here we are. And that's, I think, one of the things that about LinkedIn that most people don't really understand is that opportunities don't come from, or so much now anyway, from posts you put up, no matter how much you've slaved over one. They come from the people that you are connected to. And you don't need lots of people, you need the right people. So, yes, getting onto people's posts via a comment really increases your visibility. And that now is the strategy for visibility in 2025. No longer can you expect to get thousands of views or impressions on your posts. That's just not happening for most people now. But where you can get good visibility is by commenting on other people's posts. And that will help you to meet people. And so they'll know who you are when you send them that DM and ask to connect. But also it will help your post. Your post will get more visibility on the back of you commenting on other people's posts through the simple rule of reciprocity. People will respond to you because you have reached out to respond to them. It's very simple.
It is, and it's very organic, right? And when you make that time to do a comment, it pays dividends. It pays out. It really does. It means that somebody, as you said, Lynnaire, will post on yours because guess what? That's a natural investment in one another at this point. That's what you're creating. There is where you're starting to build that relationship. Let me just give an example, something that happened to me on LinkedIn in regards to building a relationship. So I've been on LinkedIn for some time, and in November of 2023, I was diagnosed with a lung tumor. And when I was diagnosed with that lung tumor, the folks, and I had no idea that I knew on LinkedIn and some different platforms, but primarily LinkedIn, got together and started talking behind the scenes in the DMs. And they started talking about what can we do for Summer? How can we help support her? And they presented a lovely book to me with testimonials and pictures. They also gave me $1,600 on a credit card that I could spend on anything. And I
Oh,
was
wow.
not expecting that at all. And I
That's
was just like,
amazing.
what is happening here? Like, oh my gosh, it's not like I needed it. It's just they did it because they wanted to do something special. And this happened on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
And so things are amazing. When you start creating those relationships, they lead to incredible human action.
I think that's amazing. Can I ask you, did you
Yes.
share that vulnerability on LinkedIn about what was happening with you?
Yes, I absolutely did. I did because there's a lot of people on there who I have met in person. So we're not just virtual connections. They've come to my events. I've gone to theirs. I've just went to see them in the cities that they live in because I wanted to meet them in person. So we've all gone out of our way to really kindle these relationships offline as well.
I think the important thing to remember here is that it's okay to be vulnerable
Yes.
on LinkedIn. You talked about when you first joined the platform, how stuffy you thought it was. I
Yes.
think we have COVID to thank for people being more open and honest about what's going on with them in their lives. And that's led to an increase in storytelling on LinkedIn, which I think is really useful because clearly that's what you did. You told people about what was going on in your life. And I realize that storytelling is not the most apt description of what happened to you, but talking about what happened to you on LinkedIn is sharing something personal. And people obviously responded in different ways and in really positive ways, which I just think is amazing. And so it is okay to move into that territory of being a bit more personal. And I do it at the weekends when I think it's okay to be less businesslike and more personal. And I create a video about my garden most weekends and I share that. Now, it always has a link back to LinkedIn, but people seem to love my gardening videos. And I'm not at all sure, Summer, that they wouldn't rather just see pictures of my garden than hear me talking about LinkedIn, to be fair. But I think it gives us something different that is not just plain, this is what you do and how you do something better in your job.
I love that because sometimes those visuals are so relaxing, and taking that opportunity on the weekends is so important to share something maybe a little bit less business, but more personal. And many times when I post something personal, I turn it into something that can be a takeaway for professionals as well. Even though we're impacted by something that's very personal, that's maybe very challenging, how do we overcome challenges when we confront them? Is it a reaction or is it a response? And so usually it's something like that that I'll post about. So let's talk about your book, Linkability, how you outline your 4 powerful strategies for success.
I started working on linkability during COVID because I'd been added to a list unexpectedly of LinkedIn experts Australia and New Zealand. And I decided that if that was the case and other people considered I was an expert, I needed to have a book, Summer, because I think that's a really important thing for an expert to have. At the time, the most important strategies were posting content, sending direct messages, building your network so that you could stand out on LinkedIn, and also having a company page. Now, if I was to be writing my book again now, I would be saying that posting is not the most important strategy at all. Partly because of AI, partly because of LinkedIn's algorithms, and partly because the world has moved on. Content is still important, and it's really ideal to be putting out posts once or twice a week. But if you can't do that, or you do not want to do that, then commenting on other people's posts, as you and I already discussed, is something that is an alternative that I think might even be better than spending a lot of time on writing your own posts. Now, as a so-called LinkedIn expert, I do it anyway. It's something that's part of my nature. I love to write. But other people for whom English is a second language or writing is difficult, being able to comment on other people's posts and get that visibility is, I think, the most important strategy in 2025 leading into 2026. Alongside that, direct messaging is critical too. Now, if I was writing my book again now, I would increase the amount of space that I spent on that, talking about the different ways that we can send direct messages. When I wrote it, you could only send text messages. Now you can send voice notes, you can send videos, and you can send GIFs or GIFs. No matter how you pronounce that, same word, little wee images that just move about, which are just fantastic, and they stand out in the feed because you need to stand out on LinkedIn, Summer. With more than 1 billion people on the platform, it's very crowded. So we need to do things that we know are going to make us stand out in a positive way and showcase what we do professionally in the best possible light.
Ah, bravo. Let's talk about your background in writing an advanced AI certification. How do you see technology influencing authentic communication and visibility going forward?
If I knew the answer to that, I would be a multi-billionaire. I think we don't know where this is all going, Summer. I'm finding the journey fascinating, scary, but enthralling at the same time. And I've gone this year from being somebody who was very anti-AI because I thought it was coming for my job, which incidentally it is. But I've been able to turn that around and see that as an opportunity to be able to help other people use AI, which is coming whether we like it or not, to improve their LinkedIn presence. Now, I'm not saying that you just use AI for everything. I'm just saying that you use it ethically and advisedly, and that's what I work with my linkability members on, is to help them to improve their LinkedIn presence by using AI. Where do I think it's going? I think it's going to remarkably change the landscape of work, and it's going to change it very quickly. And we are all going to be looking at each other going, what on earth are we going to do now? How are we going to adapt? Because this change is coming faster than any of us have realized. COVID changed the world in 2020. This, I believe, is going to make much more of a change, much faster, and more, if that's possible, more comprehensively. At the moment, AI hasn't hit mainstream, but it will do very soon, and it will be as ubiquitous as we use our mobile phones. We don't leave the house without our phones, and AI is going to be the same. I can't yet see or envisage how I'm going to be able to use it a lot more than I do at the moment, but I'm learning more every single day. Summer, it's learning more every single day. And as I say, exciting, enthralling, and scary at the same time. But if we have this conversation in 5 years' time, I think we'll look back and go, we cannot believe how fast things have changed.
And what I really like about what you said is you may not know everything about it. It may be a little scary, but exciting. And you're not missing the boat on this one. You are hopping on and you're using it for efficiency. You're using it in different ways. Although you're an incredible writer, it might be that it's helping you edit, it's helping you come up with different ideas, so there's different ways of using it to write, to come up with different ideas, to become more efficient. Who knows? There's just all kinds of ways of using it. Now, you run a linkability group. Tell us more about that.
Sure. So my members community is a group of people who are experts in their own fields who want to learn how to use LinkedIn better to make sure they're more visible on the platform. And so it encompasses a website where I've got a lot of information that I update regularly, and I'm doing a lot about AI at the moment, where I put a lot of content. We have a private LinkedIn members group on LinkedIn, and we also run fortnightly events. And in fact, in an hour or so, I've got one with my members today. And so on those, what we do is we talk about LinkedIn. People bring up issues they're having, questions that they need answers to, and generally talk about being visible on LinkedIn. And more, Summer, our conversations are around how to use AI for that. And I'm experimenting every day about how do we make better use of LinkedIn's analytics, or the data it gives us on our posts, for example, and what can we do to be able to learn from that. And so it's really a matter of the group coming together and cohesing as a whole and asking questions that help each other. So this comes back to relationships again. I might have founded it, but in fact, I just sit at the middle of it and everybody builds their own relationships. It's a bit like you and Scott and me. We've come together through one person, and it's the same with the Linkability members community. I have people who are members who are all over the world, and they learn from each other because, as I say, a lot of them experts in their own areas and are willing to share. And I think that's probably the common denominator. Everybody's happy to share information and they want to learn from others. I'm a big believer in learning, and I think that if you don't have that attitude, then you can be left behind, particularly with change happening so fast around us right now. And so the membership community, very small monthly amount. And if anybody wants to try it out, Summer, on the back of your podcast, I'm very happy to have them join us for free for a month to see whether it's
Ooh.
something that they would like to do. So all they need to do is send me a direct message on LinkedIn. That's free to do too, because I have an open profile, and just say that they had heard about this on your podcast, and I will happily give them a month free and welcome them with open arms.
Thank you so much. We have covered quite a bit. And as we come to the close of the interview, for someone who wants to up level their LinkedIn presence but feels overwhelmed, what's one small action they can take today that will make a big impact?
If you invite 5 people to connect with you today, and then 5 people to connect with you tomorrow, and so on, that is not an overwhelming task. It's very easy to find 5 people you might want to get to know. And if you were to do that, it would only take you a few minutes, and then follow up with those people. When they connect with you, you will start to build those relationships. It all starts there. And yes, it can be overwhelming, but just little actions every day. LinkedIn is about consistency, Summer, and I think people need to understand it's a marathon and not a sprint. There are no quick answers on LinkedIn. It takes time to build relationships, just like it does in real life. So start there by inviting a few people to connect and getting to know them.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you for that tip. And thank you, Lynnaire, for joining me on the Core Women podcast today.
It's been my pleasure, Summer. Thank you.
You can follow Lynnaire Johnston on LinkedIn, YouTube at LinkabilityNZ, Substack, Spotify, Amazon, and at linkability.biz.
Thank you for joining us on the Core Women podcast with Dr. Summer Watson. We're so glad you're here and would love to connect more with you. Find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Core Women, and on Twitter at Core Women 1. For more about Core Women and Dr. Watson, visit corewomen.com. Want more support and resources for amazing women like you? Great! Join Dr. Watson and Jen Fontanilla at the Life, Love, and Money Collective, a Core Women production that aids in understanding the key traits that might be getting in the way of living a life that you are absolutely passionate about. Connect with Summer and Jen and find out more at thelifeloveandmoney.com.